Meine Damen und Herren, man hat es kaum glauben wollen, aber es ist tatsächlich passiert. Wir haben hier ein lebendes Mitglied von Metallica zu Gast, nämlich den Bassisten Robert Trujillo. Rob, thanks for coming, thanks for stopping by, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're going to be talking the next hour, and our listeners have a lot of questions for you as well. Are you excited about having finally, a new Metallica record out? Is that as excited for you as it is for us?
Yeah, it's very exciting. It's always nice to bring new music to the world, to our fans, new fans, old fans. When you spend a lot of time in the studio and you work on your parts and just the arrangements and they come to life, you just can't wait to play those songs for people, to get sort of the reaction.
Also, Robert ist tatsächlich hier. Sie haben es selber gehört, meine lieben Damen und Herren. Und es ist natürlich für uns wie auch für ihn sehr aufregend, endlich mal wieder eine neue CD von Metallica, ein neues Metallica-Album in den Händen zu halten, wenn man die ganze Zeit dran arbeiten muss und dann letztendlich es nicht mehr erwarten kann, dieses Ding auch live rauszujubeln, dann ist das schon ein großer Moment. Und wir werden jetzt fast die ganze Stunde über das ganze neue Album reden, über Hardwired to Self-Destruct. Und wir haben natürlich auch ein paar andere Fragen an Rob, und es gibt viel, was es auch zu entdecken gibt. Ich muss dann immer wieder auf Englisch mit ihm kommunizieren und dann übersetze ich das Ganze, soweit es wie möglich ist, aber das werden wir zusammenkriegen. Rob ist echt super tiefenentspannt. You're looking at me very alienated, but it's okay. I'm just trying to translate everything. Rob, it's been pretty much 8 years since Death Magnetic. I mean, you guys were busy doing a lot of things for Metallica, busy doing a lot of things besides Metallica. But then, how long did it really take you guys to do Hardwired to Self-Destruct?
Well, it's a long process because the riffs actually start 8 years ago.
Yeah.
A lot of the ideas are born in our jam room, which is our little space that we have before we actually go on stage for our concerts.
Yeah.
And with James Hetfield, I mean, every second he's coming up with a great riff. So we have to record and document that because he will forget that riff. You know what I mean? Then ideas are prepared at home. But really, 2 years was the focus on where we really started to dive into the songs and the arrangements and then record.
Also, ich habe Rob gefragt, wie lange es eigentlich jetzt wirklich im Endeffekt gedauert hat, Hardwired to Self-Destruct aufnehmen, weil das letzte Album Death Magnetic ist ja doch 8 Jahre her. Die Jungs haben zwar viel mit Metallica zwischendurch gemacht, waren natürlich auch live viel unterwegs, aber wie lange hat es jetzt gedauert? Und er sagt, im Grunde fängt das Songwriting dann schon immer an, wenn sie vor den Konzerten in ihrem kleinen Zimmerchen und Kämmerchen jammen. Und da werden dann die Riffs von James gesammelt. James Hetfield ist eine sehr vergessliche Person geworden anscheinend, denn sie müssen da alles aufnehmen. Und ab da geht's los. Aber letztendlich haben die konzentrierten Aufnahmen zu Hardwired for Self-Destruct haben 2 Jahre gedauert, die letzten 2 Jahre. Und jetzt ist das Baby da. Am Freitag kommt's raus. Rob, you Hardwired to Self-Destruct. I think the most optimistic record title of a Metallica record was Ride the Lightning, as far as I remember.
Yes.
You had Death Magnetic, you had Saint Anger, you had Death Magnetic, now it's Hardwired to Self-Destruct. Are we on a point where we self-destruct ourselves nowadays?
I hope not, The great thing about Metallica's music and the lyrics, it's always going to be hopefully a motivating experience. And James kind of came up with the title. He was in a conversation with a friend of his, and they were talking about how as men just making mistakes, and the wives will, what we say, get on your case about making mistakes. Could be anything, could be losing the keys or whatever, just doing something stupid. So, the idea was, well, man, maybe as men, we're just hardwired to self-destruct. And then that kind of grew into hardwired for anything, hardwired to eat cheese pizza, or hardwired to, it could be any, hardwired preceding any other word you want, and it made great sense and it stuck, because usually with an album title, we'll sit around and we'll throw a bunch of ideas together. But this one was pretty immediate, and it turned into the title of the record.
Okay, also letztendlich ist Hardwired to Self-Destruct schon wieder ein Titel, bei dem man meinen kann, okay, es geht auch optimistischer, aber letztendlich ist die Grundaussage oder die Message von Metallica in den Songtexten ist eigentlich schon eher immer ein bisschen optimistisch, aber dieser Titel ist halt mal entstanden, der ist relativ schnell entstanden, weil James gesagt hat, er hat die Schlüssel verloren und mein Gott, vielleicht sind wir einfach Hardwired to Self-Destruct, was einfach heißt, jetzt geht's los, jetzt zerstören wir uns selbst und das ist dann so ein Renner geworden, so ein Selbstläufer bei Ihnen im Camp, dass der Albumtitel eigentlich relativ schnell festgestanden hat. Ich will an dieser Stelle nicht nur die Leute on-air begrüßen, die uns jetzt gerade im Radio hören. Nein, wir sind auch multimedial heute unterwegs und zwar auf Facebook. Und da will ich natürlich alle Facebook-Freunde begrüßen. Wir sind auf Facebook Live. Ihr könnt die Fragen auch hier rein mailen, rein posten und wir versuchen die nach bestem Wissen und Gewissen zu beantworten. Ja, Hardwired to Self-Destruct it was the first song we heard from the record, and then we thought like, yeah, this is pretty metal.
Oh yeah, well, Hardwired, the song, this is interesting, was written in a very short amount of time, and that was a song that James and Lars had surprised us with, because the album was finished and there needed to be an opening song that was about 3 minutes long, and I get a call from the producer saying, "Hey Rob, you got to come and record with the guys. There's a new song." And I'm like, "What?" I thought we were done, And when I heard it, I was really, really impressed with what had been created in a very short amount of time, because traditionally Metallica songs take a long time to write and record. It's a process.
But basically you're talking about Paranoid, right? Is this your Paranoid song?
I just think with Metallica it's just like, fine wine, or it's like a painting that needs the details and the shading and all the things that go into making great art. It just, no matter what, it always takes longer than I always think it should, but then at the end of the day, look at the success with each song, they become their own works of art. Lars and James are writers of great detail, and they like to try several different things in a song before it survives and lives and becomes what it becomes. In other situations in my life as a musician, it's been almost the opposite, where Infectious Grooves, we would go in for a couple of days into a rehearsal room, jam, like literally jam, come out with 15 ideas, and then the next week we'd be in the studio recording those same ideas, and there's your song, is capturing the moments. So it's just different.
All right. So Hardwired to Self-Destruct, der Titeltrack selbst war das erste, was wir vom neuen Album gehört haben vor ein paar Wochen. Und Rob sagt, ja, das war auch den Song, den wir als letztes geschrieben haben, der am schnellsten ging, der einfach straightforward war, 3 Minuten lang sein musste, ja, um richtig aufs Album zu passen, weil normalerweise, sagt Rob, dauern Metallica-Songs eine ganze Weile, bis sie fertig sind. Das liegt an Lars und an James, die Meister im Detail sind und das Ganze immer wieder feinjustieren, korrigieren, bis da mal was fertig ist. Das war früher bei den anderen Bands, in denen Rob gespielt hat, nicht so. Er war bei den Infectious Grooves und da hat er gesagt, da hat man 2 Stunden gejammt, dann ist man nächste Woche ins Studio gegangen und schwupp, war das Album fertig. Und so ging es dahin. Rob, you have it's not just one CD that Hardwired to Self-Destruct is, it's a 2 CD record. Did you have so many songs already at the beginning, or did it just add up and add up and add up, and then you said, like, well, we have to make a double record?
Yes and no. I mean, we do what we call, I call it a process of elimination. So you're nurturing ideas, and that takes time. And what happens is there's so many what I say, great ideas. So what you have to do is try to consolidate them and put them into one song, and then your song becomes 8 minutes long, and then you have over 80 minutes of music, and then you need to have 2 CDs, and it just kind of turns into that, you know. I don't necessarily think it's planned that way. I just think that right now it feels right to have these arrangements the way they are. So often your management tells you 3-minute songs, and you just say, impossible.
Also, letztendlich ist es natürlich ein Prozess, wahrscheinlich so wie bei jedem Metallica-Album, dass die Songs wachsen und gedeihen und dann auch umso länger werden. Und man hat das nicht vorher im Petto, dass man sagt, okay, man muss jetzt 80 Minuten auf 2 Alben verteilen, sondern das entsteht dann irgendwann im Prozess. Und auch wenn das Management noch so oft ruft, hey, bitte bei die 3-Minuten-Regel einhalten, wird es wohl nicht klappen. Sagen sie einfach, impossible. Ich würde jetzt sagen, wir hören einfach mal nochmal rein. Hier in die neue Metallica, in Hardwired to Self-Destruct, der Titeltrack, jetzt hier auf Rock Antenne. Wir sind live mit Rob Trujillo. Es ist uns eine Ehre und ein Vergnügen. Rob, we're still going to be on live on Facebook, so it would be really cool if you could answer just now some Facebook questions that came in. And I have them written down. And there's one from Dennis Burelli, which is a funny name, even in German. And he says, like, how do you combine or connect family life and the tour? With Death Magnetic, you play 180 shows all around the world. How do you do this?
What's very important to us, family, and the balance of family in the band is probably the most important thing. Metallica is important, but when you have your wife and your kids, and you need to maintain that and keep the peace. It's important to work around the schedule of the kids' schools, and we do basically 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off in our schedule, and it's costly. It costs more money, of course, but at the same time, it keeps the peace of all the band members and in our better halves, let's say. So it really, again, it's just balance, and it's important to us to stay connected to our kids because. Happy wife, happy life, happy family.
I heard that before.
Even better.
There's one question from Florian Reichertzer, and he writes, what is, apart from the show you did in Berlin, what is the smallest audience you ever played to or in front of with Metallica?
That's a good question. We played a show at a place called Grimey's in Tennessee. I don't know how many years ago. Maybe it was 6 years ago, and it's basically a record shop.
Yeah.
And that was very small. It was almost like in this basement of this record store. But we did play a gig in recently at Rasputin's in Berkeley, and that was
a pizza joint.
Right, it sounds like it. No, it's actually another record shop. A lot of like a lot of old school vinyl. Really classic rock and roll record shop in the Bay Area up north by San Francisco, and that was recent. And I would say, I don't know, maybe 100 people or a little more or less.
Is it better or worse?
It's great. I love it. It feels like you're very connected to your fans, and you can see everybody. It just feels a lot more, kind of quaint.
Oh, I think we have to go back on air.
Oh, yeah, that's
I have to turn down the headphones all the way.
Okay.
Because of the music.
Okay, we're right on. We're coming.
Do we need them on?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Ja, Rob Trujillo hat uns noch immer nicht verlassen. Da haben die Fragen auch noch nichts gestört. Es ist super, er ist super relaxed und wird uns auch weiterhin hier in dieser Stunde Frage und Rede und Antwort stellen über das neue Album Hardwired to Self-Destruct, über alles andere. Und da gibt es eine Frage, die auch mich persönlich sehr beschäftigt. Rob, Hardwired to Self-Destruct, It's pretty much your third record with Metallica. Pretty much, I say, because there's, you can add Saint Anger if you want to or not. I don't know, but how much of Rob Trujillo is in Hardwired?
Actually, a lot. A hell of a lot. What we do is, even though when you read, a lot of people like to read credits and stuff, and obviously on Hardwired compared to Death Magnetic, there's writing credits that are really centered around Lars and James.
Yeah.
And the truth is that we jam. And even though the original riff or the idea comes from Hetfield on this album, these are all great Hetfield riffs. And you don't see the riffs from Kirk or myself as much as you would have on the previous record. I'm there every day with them jamming, and I'm writing my bass parts.
Yeah.
I'm playing my parts as a bass player. What determines a songwriter's credit, you have to ask Lars, but and that's okay. I always say my role in Metallica is really to support the song and to support my team, and whatever that means, I'm there for it. It's like I'm like Joe Walsh with the Eagles, Joe Walsh with the Eagles was a writer, he was songwriter. He did a lot of great things, but when it came to the Eagles, he was there to play guitar, he was there to sing, he was there to do whatever he needed to do. If he had to write sections of a song, he did. The great thing about Hardwired is I do love the songs. I love the sonics, the sound, the production. I love the fact that I was able to go into the vocal booth with James and sing backups and be a part of the vocal production on that level, which is something that I don't think had ever happened. So there's a lot of really great experiences with this album, and it's really the second step in me being with this band creatively. It's the second step, because Death Magnetic was really the first, coming in with Rick Rubin and taking the journey with Rick, and then Greg Fiddleman being a part of that. And now with Greg Fiddleman as the producer and myself still there, it feels fresh, it feels new. I'm looking forward to the next record, in this journey.
For a next songwriting credit, I hope.
Oh yeah, I'm not, again, songwriting credits, it's not that big a deal. I think what the bigger deal is like, how the songs develop, and my role in supporting Lars and James with a song, whether the idea comes from Kirk or James or me or whatever, it doesn't matter. What matters is does the song sound great when it's finished.
Also, ich habe Rob gefragt, das hat mich auch wirklich interessiert, wie viel von Rob Trujillo ist in Hardwired oder steckt in Hardwired to Selfdestruct. Denn wenn man sich die Songwriting Credits anschaut, dann hat man Hetfield und Ulrich, und man hat ein bisschen Trujillo und ansonsten eigentlich relativ wenig. Aber Rob ist so, er sagt halt, ich war jeden Tag da, ich habe meine Bassparts gemacht. Wer dann dafür zuständig ist, dass das Ganze dann einen Songwriting-Credit kriegt, das ist wahrscheinlich Lars Ulrich. Aber das passt schon, er sieht sich als Supporter der Band, und das ist auch gut so. Und er weiß sehr wohl, was er da reinsteckt. Und er weiß auch um seine Rolle jetzt in der Band, mit der er jetzt mit Hardwired to Self-Destruct jetzt persönlich sein zweites Level erreicht hat. Also sagt, Death Magnetic war der Anfang. Jetzt haben wir das zweite Level erklommen, und er freut sich jetzt auf die Zukunft, wie es weitergeht, auch mit seiner Rolle in Metallica. Und das ist ihm das Wichtigste. Er ist ein Teamplayer, sagt er, wie Joe Walsh bei den Eagles es war. Joe Walsh ist ein super Songwriter, Sänger, kann alles. Aber wenn er bei den Eagles ist, dann spielt er Gitarre, dann singt er ein bisschen, und das war's dann. Und so ist er eigentlich ein Teamplayer, der Rob Trujillo, und das ist auch super. Rob, you played with the Suicidal Tendencies, you played with Ozzy Osbourne, and then again you notched up a bit and you started playing with Metallica. And that's not meant offensively, but is Metallica a band or is it an industry?
Metallica is a band. We enjoy what we do. We create. We're not, at our age, where we're at now, it's impressive because I've been in this business a while, and I've seen a lot of bands as they get a little older, they lose some of that fire and that edge. In all honesty, they lose their creativity. And, the scary thing is, I think we're growing together now more than ever creatively, which is really exciting. Already there's been a couple loose jams that for me have been like, whoa, that's pretty good, you know what I mean? And I know that there's another great album, probably waiting to happen. I know that would drive Lars crazy because he really, it took a lot to make this one, but creatively, I see it, I feel it. I'm excited about where we're at and where we're going. So music comes first with us, All
right.
Let me just say this: in the last 8 years, it took a long time. There's a lot of reasons. We made an album with Lou Reed. Yeah. That took a year. We made a 3D movie called Through the Never. That took 2 years. And we also toured on, of course, Death Magnetic. And we did some other special shows celebrating, Ride the Lightning and, of course, the Black Album.
Yeah.
So we challenge ourselves, and I think that makes us better,
Alright, ich habe Rob gefragt, ob Metallica noch eine Band ist oder schon eine ganze Industrie. Und er sagt, es ist definitiv eine Band. Sie sind kreativ zusammen am Schaffen. Und das ist das, was eine Band ausmacht. Natürlich hängt ein ganz großer Rattenschwanz da dran an dem Ganzen. Aber letztendlich ist es wichtig, was die vier miteinander anstellen und wie sie miteinander klarkommen. Und solche Alben dauern seine Zeit, aber er fühlt sich ganz gut. Er hat gesagt, es hat jetzt schon wieder neue Jams gegeben, bei denen er sagt, das ist eigentlich sehr gut, da könnte schon wieder ein neues Album dabei rausspringen. Und er hat aber gemeint, er wird Lars Ulrich langsam aber sicher verrückt, wenn er sowas hört, aus seinen bestimmten Gründen. Lars ist dann eher der Business-Typ, der sagt, wir machen einen Schritt nach dem nächsten. Und die Jungs waren natürlich nicht untätig, jetzt in den 8 Jahren, in der Zwischenzeit zwischen Death Magnetic und hier, sie haben Lulu gemacht mit Lou Reed, ein Jahr lang, sie haben einen 3D-Kinofilm gemacht, Through the Never, natürlich hat auch ein paar Jahre gedauert und so weiter und so fort, natürlich die ganzen Welttourneen nicht ausgeschlossen und deswegen dauert halt einfach seine Zeit. Yeah, but speaking of world tours, we're ready. We're waiting. Where are you? When are you coming? What's going to happen?
Well, this is what's happening. We're here. We're celebrating this release, here in Germany and all over the world. We were in Central America about a week ago, actually. It's kind of crazy. Playing in places like Guatemala City and Ecuador and Colombia and all these interesting places. So the machine is kicking in and we're ready to take on the world, and we will obviously be coming to Germany in the not too distant future, fairly soon. So yeah. you'll be seeing us and probably maybe not getting tired of us. Hopefully not tired.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. So we love it here. The energy and the magic is always special. I've got a lot of great memories of even just Munich alone. I mean, going back to...
I was about to ask you that, but it's good. Yeah, go ahead.
No, going back to 1993 when Suicidal Tendencies, I played bass in Suicidal Tendencies, as some people know, and I remember hanging out in the park over there, not too far from the Olympic Stadium, and drinking beers with my friends, listening to Metallica off in the distance in the Olympic arena.
The irony,
right. And earlier that day, I would have been playing our 45-minute set, and swimming in the Olympic pool with Mike Muir, my lead singer from back then, the beautiful, massive pool, and going for a swim, diving off the high dive. There's a lot of great memories here. At snowboarding, locally back in the Infectious Groove days, with one of my good buddies that lived here, and just being crazy young skater, snowboarder in Munich.
So I think Munich is definitely on the tour map. I'm going to translate this real quick.
Okay.
Ja. Wo bleibt die Welttournee? Wann können wir Metallica endlich wieder hier mit dem neuen Album begrüßen? Und Rob sagt, es wird nicht mehr allzu lange dauern. Sie werden kommen, sie werden definitiv hier spielen. Und sie waren jetzt gerade unterwegs in Guatemala, Ecuador, Kolumbien, wo auch immer, also Latin, Südamerika, gerade galore. Und der Groove ist schon wieder zurück. Man fühlt sich schon wieder gut, es kribbelt schon wieder in den Fingern und in den Beinen. Das heißt, wir werden wohl nächstes Jahr irgendwann mit Metallica rechnen können. Und das Schöne ist, dass Rob sagt, er hat vor allen Dingen spezielle Erinnerungen an München. Denn hier hat er 1993 gespielt mit den Suicidal Tendencies und wo? Im Vorprogramm natürlich von Metallica. Da nimmt die Ironie kein Ende. Er war hier im englischen Garten, ist rumgehangen, hat Bier getrunken. Er war Snowboarden in den Alpen mit Freunden, die er hier hatte. Also nur gute Erinnerungen an München. Gott sei Dank nicht mehr an das letzte Interview, das ich mit ihm gemacht habe, weil es wäre ihm schlecht, egal. Ja, das ist doch schon mal eine sehr weise Voraussicht. I got a question to your style, Rob. When you came in playing bass for Metallica, they had two main bass players before that, but each of them used a different technique. And now, how could you add to the sound? Did you have to copy it? Could you improve it? Could you like transform it into your own style by then?
Yeah, I mean, we're all different players, you know. Cliff Burton was a finger player, and Jason Newsted played with a pick.
Yeah.
I'm a finger player too. You know, I think the beauty of this is that when you get to a certain place in your career, I think you're respected for what you do or what you have done. So for me, they knew what they liked about me.
Yeah.
And at one point I was playing with a pick when I first joined, and James was like, you know what? I really like the fingers. I like the feel. And it makes us play better, you know, stuff like that, which is very flattering.
Yeah.
You know, I feel most comfortable with my fingers, and I learned from the band too. It's like I learned from every situation I've ever been in. I mean, when I played in Jerry Cantrell's band and made that album, I learned a lot from Jerry. I learned about simplicity, and Jerry's actually a really great composer. So I learned, you know, things about writing bass lines through Jerry.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from Ozzy. I learned obviously a tremendous amount from working with Mike Muir. Metallica, absolutely. I had to redevelop my technique to keep up with the pace of the music. There's a lot of galloping, you know, so I had to, and that galloping speeds up live, let me tell you. I had to learn to play with 3 fingers.
So Lars is speeding up live, right?
It's better now. I have to say, it has gotten a lot better in these last few years, really. But when I first joined the band, I was like, whoa!
So, ich muss Rob mal fragen, weil es gab natürlich 2 sehr prominente Vorgänger am Bass bei Metallica, Cliff Burton und Jason Newsted, und sie haben beide unterschiedliche Techniken angewendet. Da war es natürlich schon klar für Rob, dass er sich irgendwie das Ganze adaptieren musste. Aber er sagte, er hat sehr schnell Zuspruch bekommen von der Band, als sie die ersten paar Mal geprobt haben. Und er versucht hat, mit dem Pick zu spielen, weil das ist das, was Jason Newsted getan hat. Wo James dann zu ihm gesagt hat, ja, ich mag die Finger. Ich mag dieses Gefühl, wenn du mit den Fingern spielst. Und von da an ging das Ganze auch besser, und da ist dann auch das Zusammenspiel besser geworden. Und natürlich muss man immer wieder den Sound adaptieren. Die alten Stücke sind halt mal die alten Stücke. Da kannst du nichts machen. Aber Rob ist jetzt ganz gut zu Hause. Er sagt, er hat als Bassist halt nicht nur von Metallica gelernt, sondern auch von Leuten wie Jerry Cantrell, mit dem hat er das Album Degradation Trip gemacht, und er hat gesagt, da habe ich gelernt, wie man ganz simple Basslinien schreibt. Und das war sehr wichtig. Er hat viel von Ozzy gelernt, hat viele von allen gelernt. Speaking of Ozzy, there's one question I got to ask you. You must have been asked this about 1,000 times, but this is really... There's this famous scene in the movie, you know, where you were offered the job to Metallica, and Lars said, you know, we're going to give you $1 million just to make sure that, you know, we're real. In retrospect, did Ozzy pay it so poorly that you were so happy about the $1 million?
I wasn't ever, you know, the funny thing about that moment is when he offered me the money, I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't seem like a realistic number in my world. I mean, I never saw the money, you know. You don't see the money, you know. I think at some point you end up with the money, and you end up with the taxes, and you know, I mean, it's just very surreal. I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about, okay, I've got over 20 years of catalog to learn. That's a lot of songs. I've got Saint Anger music to learn, which has never been played as a band, and there was like 12 songs there. And I was just thinking about the workload.
Yeah.
And that's how I'm programmed. I'm programmed to think about what do I have to do to try and be as good as I can be. And it took me a couple years to catch up. I mean, those first couple years in Metallica were difficult for me because I was constantly learning backstage before shows. I'm learning, you know, some old classic Kill 'Em All song. You know, there was never really a break, so it was a blur. At a certain point, I realized, hey, you know what? I'm going to get ahead of these guys. I started learning songs on my own that they hadn't played, like Frayed Ends of Sanity or Dyer's Eve. Yeah. You know, I started learning songs to stay ahead of them. And then eventually we played those songs, so it worked out, because I had already done my homework.
So, ich musste natürlich kurz mal fragen, wie das war, die berühmte Szene, als er den Job in Metallica offeriert bekam und $1 Million obendrauf. Und Rob hat gesagt, in dem Moment hat er nicht ans Geld gedacht. Nein, 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 meine Damen und Herren. In dem Moment gab es Probleme. Denn er musste 20 Jahre Songs lernen von Metallica. Er musste St. Anger Musik lernen, die noch nie live gespielt worden ist. Er musste alles lernen und die ersten Jahre Metallica war er nur am Üben und Proben und auch selbst kurz vor der Show, wenn altes Zeugs von Kill 'Em All angestanden ist, war der kleine Rob hinten im Proberaum und hat geübt, weil sonst wäre es einfach nicht gegangen. Und das ist natürlich schon, das ist verständlich. Er hat gesagt, er hat Jahre gebraucht. Er hat Jahre gebraucht, um sich das alles aufzuschaffen. Hat dann auch im Voraus gelernt, Songs, die sie nie live gespielt haben, wie Fridays of Sanity, hat er sich draufgepackt und wunder was, irgendwann haben sie es gespielt und das war natürlich für ihn dann ein kompletter Vorlauf. Also, das ist alles sehr glatt gelaufen. We received a lot of questions. One of the questions that we received the most from our audience, hearers, and even from Facebook is when is Metallica finally gonna play the Wacken Festival?
When they invite us.
They never did.
You know, I think some of these festivals are afraid to invite us, you know, because we get that a lot. And it's funny because Lars always says, okay, well, you know, let's get the official invite and we can go play. I mean, it's as simple as that. We got the same question last night about Hellfest in France. It's like, hello, phone, ring. You know?
Okay, einer eurer meistgestelltesten Fragen war, wann spielt Metallica endlich in Wacken? Die Antwort darauf von Rob, wenn sie uns dann einmal einladen. Die kann man auch mal das Telefon in die Hand nehmen, kann man auch mal anrufen. Ist also machbar. Deswegen auch dasselbe beim Hellfest in Frankreich, die auch noch nie versucht haben, wahrscheinlich mal einfach eine Nummer zu wählen, um wirklich zu fragen. Sie ihm gesagt haben, nee, Metallica, weiß nicht, ob das geht, keine Ahnung. Also, es wird kommen. Ich würde sagen, wir hören jetzt noch mal rein in die neue Scheibe von Metallica, in Hardwired to Selfdestruct. Hier ist die aktuelle Single, die zweite Single aus dem Ganzen. Und die nennt sich Moth into Flame. Und die gibt es jetzt hier auf Rock Antenne. Immer noch bei uns Rob Trujillo, der Mr. Bassman of Metallica. Yeah, okay. We would still have some Facebook questions for Facebook Live to answer.
And when I do the Facebook stuff, am I talking into this?
No, you're talking.
Oh, okay.
It's all good. We're talking everything.
20 vor müssen wir
Ja, alles gut. Machen wir. We're just going to do a couple of questions once the song is running, and then we're just going to say goodbye for the on-air section.
And this is a longer song, so we have more time.
This is it. I'm going to find a good question, though. Blah, 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 blah. There is one from Sasha Gergens. And it's just true because it goes like, are James and you friends? Are you buddies?
Yeah. I'm friends with everyone in my band, you know. Interesting thing is we are all very different, but sometimes on tour, you know, you may end up hanging out with Lars. Like the other night, I was drinking with Lars and watching new Metallica videos until 4 in the morning, you know, 4:30 in the morning.
Can you keep up with Lars stuff?
And it's hard. It's hard to keep up with Lars. But it was really fun. It wasn't so much fun yesterday when my head was hurting, but I had a little bit of a headache. But it was fun, you know, to connect with him that way, and that's kind of what we used to do. And then with James, sometimes we'll go out to dinner, you know, or we'll go on an adventure, you know, or, go see some sights or whatever. Especially when our families are together. With James, you know, his kids and my kids get along really well, and my wife and his wife get along really well. So oftentimes we'll do stuff as a family together.
All right,
you know,
all right.
and you know, we've been to his house for Christmas dinner, and you know, so we have a great friendship that way. Now with Kirk, of course, surfing. We surfed together. We were just in
Why
Central,
not?
we were in Central America. We went surfing in Puerto Rico, Galapagos, and in Costa Rica, you know, and that's what Kirk and I do. So I have my relationship with each member of the band in a different way, you know, but creatively, James and I are probably, I feel a lot more connected than maybe myself and Lars or myself in Kirk. Kirk is fun to play with, but James and I, like, we tend to jam together a little more.
All right. There's one question you kind of answered before, but it's I didn't really ask it that directly. But there's one question from Willy Ortner, and he says, "Is Hardwired to Self-Destruct going to be the last studio record of Metallica?"
Oh no, no. Like I said, I mean, for me, Death Magnetic was a new beginning personally.
Yeah.
And Hardwired is a second step.
You're 1/4 of the whole crew.
Yeah,
You know, to the other people.
No, I mean we all agree that we still got creativity in us. We need to make more records. Yeah, it's simple.
What is Mike Trash? He's really calling himself Trash, not Thrash. I'm sorry, not Trash.
Thrash.
He asks, what is the song that's most difficult to play live?
Well, it depends. I mean,
For you?
yeah, it's a good question because every song has its point of difficulty. I've been really proud of one lately because I feel that we've been playing it really tight.
All right.
You know, I was talking to Lars. In fact, that night when we had some drinks and watched the videos, you know, he was a little disappointed with some of the performance of, you know, like just we always critique ourselves as a band. You know, like, oh, there was a little mistake here or whatever, and I said, but you know what? One was really tight, and it was. The last two times we played one, it's been tight, and that song for me, going back, you know, I remember, you know, there were parts of it where you got to stay on your game. It sounds like it might be simple, but there's little details, and those details are important to me. But, you know, some of the faster songs can be complicated. You know, I remember, you know, Dyer's Eve was a challenge. We haven't played that in many years, but I remember it was kind of a challenge for us. Freight Ends of Sanity last summer was a great challenge. I love that song. But I don't know. They're all kind of crazy. You know, there's a lot of twists and turns.
All right, I think we have 1 minute left, and then we're going to be on there and wrap this whole thing up here with you. It was really nice hanging here.
Yeah, man.
I could listen to you for hours. Go like, and tell me, it's like
I could be here for. I got a lot of stories,
the
man.
Chris Farley moment. Very good. And do you remember when?
You know, it's the beauty. There's a lot of stories that, even like before I was in the band, I have stories with the band. I mean, I can go on and on.
Yeah, it's a.
I have to come back. See, I have to come back.
Oh yeah, you do.
I got too many stories.
In half an hour, yeah. Yeah. Don't do the conference call. Just stay with us.
That's it.
Meine Damen und Herren, es ist 14:41 Uhr, immer noch hier bei uns, trotz aller dummer Fragen, die wir stellen konnten, beziehungsweise vor allen Dingen ich stellen konnte, ist Rob Trujillo immer noch bei uns und er muss jetzt gleich ein Häuschen weiter. Rob, it was very nice and very interesting to have you. I know we're not done yet. We wouldn't be done until 6 o'clock in the evening, I think.
That's true.
But you have your famous last words if you want to. Whatever you want to tell the listeners, say it now.
I want to come back. Please have me back. I've got more stories, more to share with my fans here, and don't let me go.
Yeah, we charge rent and everything's going to be cool.
Okay.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for talking to us, and good luck with yet another #1 record, obviously, which is going to be Hardwired to Self-Destruct.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I see you soon on tour. You know, you promised.
Yeah. I did promise I will be back, and together we shall go into, what's that park called? The garden park?
English Garden.
English
Where we
Garden.
are, the Chinese Tower. We drink half a gallon of beer.
Yeah. Yeah. Great memories of that place, hanging with Slayer, drinking Steins and Lagers, and singing. We'll see you soon, man.
See you soon.
See you soon, everybody.
Meine Damen und Herren, das war unser kleines, aber feines Interview mit Rob Trujillo von Metallica. Hier geht's weiter mit Musik. Bis bald.
Rockantenne. Der beste Rock nonstop.